Citadel in 1981. Stump carved out a successful NFL career with the Cardinals.
He's strong. He can move. He was out to make guys miss. He had it all. He had everything in his game.
In Cardinals franchise history, only Larry Fitzgerald has more all-purpose yards.
He did it all, man.
And welcome. This is Saphyr. Welcome to another edition of the Running Back University Stump Talk podcast. Before we get started, we've got some special announcements for you.
I want to say hello, Coach Stump. Hello, Saphyr. Our producer, Russ. Good to see everyone. Two announcements. October 12th, we got Frank Stams and Hall of Famer Dave Robinson at Shenanigans. All the Browns backers want to say hello to the T County Browns backers. They have mini helmets, Rocket Ishmael, different signatures. Come down and join the raffle. Then I want to say hello to Jay and Dave. December 6th, the American Fight Promotions, AFP MMA 104 at the NEO Sports Plant. And you can get tickets at afpmma.com. This is MMA fighting coming to Cleveland on December 6th.
That is very exciting. And Coach Stump, I wish I could use that word to characterize the Browns game on Sunday versus the Lions. Unfortunately, we have another loss, a lot going on. I just want to jump right into it. Let's start with the quarterback, Joe Flacco. He was 16 of 34, 184 yards, 2 interceptions, and of course the late game fumble. What are your initial observations, your assessment of Joe Flacco's play?
Well, I think they started the game off moving the ball pretty well, throwing the ball downfield. He had, I think, maybe 6 or 7 completions for about 74 yards. So they did a much better job starting the game off than they did the remainder of the game, and some of that's play calling, and unfortunately, the interception. Joe just, I think it was a little confusion with the route that was being run and where it was supposed to be, but Joe can't put the ball out there like he did and have it be an interception.
It's curious because we just finished week 4, and I get so frustrated because especially with a veteran quarterback, you wouldn't expect confusion like that or the decision making to see that. Let's talk about the pressure that he may be under, right? To be successful in this offense. You have young players all around him. You've got an offensive line that is each week looks more and more suspect. Even at his number of years that he's played in the league, can you speak to what could be factors in his decision-making that's resulting in these interceptions?
Well, I mean, in the first game, I think there were several balls that were tipped. That was receivers, all interceptions are not on the quarterback and all interceptions are not on the wide receivers. It's a combination of things. And unfortunately, the Browns have had a combination that resulted in some interceptions. The Browns knew all along, even during training camp, that they were going to go with Joe Flacco. I don't know why they were trying to kid anybody. They knew he was going to be the starter. So I don't know how many opportunities he had to work with the receivers that he's now playing with. But they needed to get ready for the season. And it was just smoke and mirrors saying they didn't know who they were going to go with. It was Joe Flacco's job to begin with. He had the trust of all the players. So rep-wise, I don't know if he got the reps that he needed to with those guys because he had not been with them since 2023, I think it was. Yeah.
And that's what, from a fandom perspective, Coach, that's what makes it even more bitter to swallow reps, because we didn't see him get the reps, at least during the games that were televised. It's and I want to tie this to your comments about the players. Everyone seemingly knew that he would be the starter. I don't want to get off the beaten path with the performance, but from a player perspective, I remember at the end of the game, the camera was panned on Miles Garrett, who clearly did not look happy. He was sitting off by himself. He wasn't really talking to anyone. And then there was a shot where they panned over to Joe Flacco, where he kind of looked like he had a smile on his face talking to one of his offensive linemen. At what point, and I'm just speaking in general terms, okay? At what point does the fracture start? Right? When a statement like, hey, look, the players believe in the quarterback, everyone's comfortable with him. He has on the season 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Clearly, we go with his QBR is the lowest in the league. At what point do the players start to have maybe internal conversations about a situation where the quarterback, veteran quarterback, is not performing?
Well, what I will say, those players that were there during Joe's time can also see that the off Joe had completions, the yardage was way more higher than it is right now. So,
We got
I can't say is that they're not
we got
when
some mic problems, Coach.
first and
And so what I want to do to just touch on that is, Quinshon Judkins seems to be the diamond in the rough, right? We talked
Mhm.
about this last week, how much if the Browns could cultivate a running game, he could offset, or that running game could offset what we're seeing as the failures on the offensive side, the special teams. Quinshon Judkins had 88 yards and I believe scored the first touchdown. But again, because of the failures of the offense overall and special teams, it really didn't seem like we were able to capitalize off of his performance. I'm just so curious to know, you know, what it is about the Browns that it makes him seem like a different type of running back than the other players on that team. What do you see he is doing different that makes him stand out and much more successful than the other running backs, coach?
well, first of all, I can't compare him to the other running, or I can't compare the other running backs to him. Okay, I Jerome has proven what he can do, and Jerome has never had an opportunity, nor Nick really had an opportunity to go in a game where you're the primary ball carrier. That has not happened. Jerome proved what he could do last year by averaging over 5 yards a carry. When the organization don't show any faith in you, it doesn't matter what you do. If that's the person that they want, that's what they're going to do. So he's been given much more opportunities than Jerome has when Jerome has proven what he can do. So I think it's a lack of respect first and foremost. They did the same thing to Amari Cooper. You have to know your players. You have to know their personality, and they're the ones that's playing the game. So don't mess up their mojo. And that's what the organization, I shouldn't say the organization, because I think it's Andrew Berry and I think it's Coach Stefanski that's controlling those things, those decisions. So they don't understand. Being a coach is one thing. Being a player is a totally different thing because you have to get in a different mindset. You're out there competing first and foremost, and you don't want to have to compete against your organization. You have opponents to compete against. And when they trying to play musical chairs and not necessarily playing the best guys, not saying that that young man is not a great guy, but Jerome did a hell of a job last year. And now for them to come back and wholesale him, it's ridiculous.
Coach, I want to ask you. I want to ask you too, Sapphire. I think one of the. I was talking to Russ earlier about this. I think one of the. If we had to sum up the games thus far, I would say dropped passes and tip passes have been crucial to the Browns. Jerry Judy was 3 for 48. He's caused a couple of touchdowns. I felt that maybe he contributed to. So, Coach, I want to ask you from a culture aspect because it seems to be some as you say some bad mojo. What do you do as a coach to try to alleviate all these drop passes? Is there do you point it out in film? Do you work it on the field? Is it just a mentality? How do you fix that?
Well, they've had the same wide receiver coach there since uh, Kevin has been there. So I don't think Coach O'Shea is doing anything out of the norm. Wh- that's an individual thing. I mean, you have to focus in on the ball. You have to look it into your hands, and it's just something that has happened. Jerry, uh, from his statement, he was totally upset because he said it's a ball that he should have caught. He knew he should have caught, so he was upset with himself for that. But it doesn't help. You know, it plays a major part in the game, and unfortunately, it goes on Joe's record.
Sapphire.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because I don't know if it's the pressure in the moment. It's he was one of the best wide receivers in his draft class, right? And it's nonsensical almost. And to Coach Stump's point, you've had a wide receiver coach with the organization for at least a few years, so there's consistency there. It's just nonsensical. I don't know how many times they can go back to him, regardless of if it's, the reports are that Dylan's going to start this week. And that adds a whole other, to me, level of uncertainty and chaos. But, Coach, how long do you feel like the Browns can stick with Judy as a primary wide receiver because of the drop passes?
Well, Jerry, I think he had a magnificent year last year. His best year, his first year with the Browns, best year in his career. I think he's going to be okay. Uh, that's football. I mean, anybody that's ever played the game or know the game, that stuff happens. You don't want it to happen, but it happens. But I think you have to show trust in people, and I don't know if that's a whole lot of trust being shown in some people from the guys up top. And they're managing the team, they're coaching the team, but those guys are human beings. They have respect or lose respect for you based on some of the decisions that they see made. Those guys, they have a relationship with one another, and when you do someone wrong, uh, it may not affect them financially, but those guys become pretty dang on close, and they just say, "Hey, man, we just gonna wait our time out."
Well, Coach, how long in Sapphire? You just touched on it. How long do we wait, Coach, until we pull the trigger and see one of the young guys play? Dylan, obviously, Shadur is in the shadows. Um, given our record right now, Coach, when do you go ahead and make a change at quarterback to see what we have?
I don't know because they first of all they should have brought Joe back last year. I mean, they should have brought him back after he took the team to the playoffs and everybody was high, and you wouldn't have had that problem. Now it's just a matter of you can't put everything on Joe. Yeah, he made some mistakes, but they've made mistakes. Andrew Berry has made mistakes. Kevin Stefanski has made mistakes. When you gonna replace them? So it's a team deal right now. I know those players. They definitely trust in Joe more than they trust in Andrew and Kevin. Ain't no question in my mind about that because of the things that they've done to some players that were there before and the way they treat Jerome. I mean, a guy coming off his best season in the league, averaging over 5 yards a carry, and he has to take a pay cut. Give me a break.
And
Sapphire.
that's an example right there of what I alluded to when I said what are the other things that are in, for example, a Jerry Judy's mind when he's out there. Is his game 100% in the game? Is his mind 100% in the game? What he's doing, or is he thinking about those other things? And I'm going to say this, Jackson Dart, just right quick, the now starting quarterback of the Giants, alluded to exactly what Coach Stump just shared. He knows where he stands with Brian Dable, and he spoke to how much of a difference that made for him when he was out on the field executing. And so I bring this back to Judy. I mean, even young Fannin, how much of what is going on off the field, at the facility, and with all this back and forth and uncertainty is impacting our players' ability to execute on the field. We've got two injuries in Cedric Tillman. He's on the IR. He was placed on the IR, and DeAndre Carter was placed on the IR. And the reports are that he's going to miss weeks. So we're now in a position where, I don't know who else could step up other than like Bond, maybe, who he's new to the organization and maybe didn't get enough reps during preseason either. But we have less options when it comes to our passing game from a pure wide receiver, and I'll even say quasi tight end perspective. So we're going to now introduce, again, the reports are that Dylan Gabriel is going to be the starting quarterback. It just feels like chaos, and no one knows what they're doing. Coach Stump, can you speak to this, please?
Well, there was no reason for them to get rid of Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, they got rid of Donovan Peoples-Jones, and they brought in, Elijah Moore, and they didn't keep Elijah Moore. You got rid of Donovan right after he had 800 and some yards, a 6th-round draft pick, who had more yards than the guy that you traded for and brought to try to take his place, and it didn't work out. So Andrew and Kevin, they've made some major mistakes that really have cost that team. A team that was right on the cusp of winning the division, playing extremely well. You get rid of some of the guys like Case Keenum, Dearness Johnson, and then of course the coaches. So all the steps that they've taken has been wrong. What I will say that the Haslams, they allow them to make those moves. I'm assuming, and it's not panning out the way it's supposed to.
It's hard because I think hardworking, Browns fan, adult man or woman, they get up and meet the mule every day. They go to work. There are expectations that they have to meet to keep their employment. And it just gets to a point where, how many different excuses can Browns coach use to explain the underperformance of the team? And I get how much injuries play a part in outcomes. And then there are times where it feels like, from a fan perspective, again, we have enough to be competitive. We have enough to not be making these mistakes that are costing us games. I mean, those 3 turnovers, if I am correct, cost us 17 points on Sunday versus the Lions. So, I'm going back to the first week where Coach Stefanski said he recognized there were a lot of things that needed to be cleaned up, and they were going to clean it up. They're going to work on that. But I look at a team that still looks and feels like they're in preseason mode. So, but yeah.
They needed to clean up stuff before the draft. They knew the health or lack thereof of the offensive lineman. They chose not to take them. They knew they didn't have a number 2 receiver with Judy, and they chose to not draft Travis Hunter. They also knew that they needed another defensive back, so you would have got 2 for 1 in Travis, and they didn't do it. It would have made things easier because you got him on one side and Jerry Judy on the other side. Now you got David Njoku in the middle. That's tough to play a whole lot of man coverages against those guys because they're that would have been a great trio of receivers right there. And they chose not to get an offensive lineman. They chose to get a defensive lineman. Okay, that's fine. But they let a big defensive lineman go to Arizona that played pretty dang gone well. So, they had the chance to get Travis. They also had a chance to get offensive linemen. They knew the lack of health there on that offensive line. And those guys were aged, and they chose to go the way in which they went.
I want to move on to some league news, you guys.
Mhm.
Coach, I'm very interested in getting your perspective, specifically the New York Giants Stadium. They put out a report, and it's been on the sports news today about the multiple knee injuries that's happening on that turf. We got Neighbors out for the Giants to start wide receiver, and then we got Hill went down for Miami. Both of those guys will be out for the year. Just want to ask you, Coach. We're talking about turf versus grass. Playing at the Meadowlands and some of the stadiums you've seen over your career. How important do you think it is to play on grass in comparison to the new AstroTurf?
Well, I sustained my first major knee injury where I had to have total reconstruction at the Giant Stadium. But that
Wow.
had absolutely, yes, they had turf, but it didn't have anything to do with the turf. It had the fact to do that I got hit from behind by one of the linebackers. I don't even need to call his name. And
Mm.
I tore up my right knee in Kansas City. They had grass. No one hit me. I planted, and I
Mhm.
did the exact same thing. Tore up everything in my right knee. So, football is a physical game. It's a sport that anytime you get up from it, you're blessed. I mean, tremendously. That's why you have NIL. These guys leaving one place and going to another place and get money. They should do that because you never know how long you're going to have the opportunity to play this game. I don't think the grass or the turf have a major issue with guys getting hurt.
Sapphire, you have anything on that?
Yeah, I just recall Odell Beckham Jr. talking about MetLife Stadium, the turf, and pleading for either grass or a higher quality of turf. But I've never played professional football. I don't know how it feels. I know there's cement underneath it. I know that there have been a number of injuries specifically at that stadium at that on that surface. So I don't know what the answer is, but watching Hill's injury, I cringe. I'm glad they don't replay it over and over and over again. I mean, these are men's livelihoods. This is how they support their families and their descendants. And I mean, we're talking about generational wealth. And I would imagine that in 2025, they can do studies on, brain injuries and everything else. There must be some kind of study that can be done that can give us an answer or push us farther down the road to an answer. It's just really tough to see professional athletes be injured like this and not be able to play the game, support themselves long term. Their careers be shortened by it. It's just really unfortunate.
Well, I will say the NFL, they do everything they possibly can in terms of studying
Hmm.
it, the game and everything involved with the game to try to make it better for these players. Back when I played, there was no money really in that you're making. These guys are making astronomical amounts of money now to play this game, and the NFL is spending a heck of a lot of money studying everything, recovery. Uh, of course, they do studies on field turf and grass, and I would say though there were some bad injuries that occurred during my playing days when it was mostly grass,
Hmm.
and right now they it's a tough sport. It's a physical sport, not as physical now as it was back then. Stuff just happens. That was unfortunately just a bad blow.
I want to ask you, Coach, before we go to our running back spotlight, Sapphire, the
Hmm.
Dallas versus Green Bay game, Coach, ended in a 40-40 tie. I want to ask you both, what are your thoughts on the overtime rule for the NFL? Should a game end in a tie, Coach Stump?
Well, I think both teams had the opportunity to go for 2 points or and not kick the PAT to tie the ball game. So uh, I think it's a field thing. Uh, the game's got to end at some point in time. If they have rules where if the team scores first a touchdown, then the game is over. Or they both kick field goals. Uh, they left that into the hands of each coach, and they decided to do what they thought was best for them. And I don't have a problem with it because a tie at the end day, if a team is 10-7 and you 10-6-1, then you win the division over that team, that tie.
Yeah,
Sapphire?
I'll just jump on and say, as a fan, of course, I want to see a real outcome, win or loss. But I would agree with what Coach Stump just said. At the end of the day, that tie doesn't hurt you, right? So I really, just as a fan, it'd be great to see a different type of outcome. But it's all about strategy, right, and position. So,
Absolutely.
with that said, I do want to introduce the running back spotlight of the week. Player Brayton Feister. I'm sorry, Feister. Brayton Feister of Akron Hoban.
Hello, I want to welcome our guy Brayton Feister to the running back spotlight of the week. This kid is exciting. He's a running back linebacker, one of the best players not only in the country but in the state of Ohio. Got a chance to meet his dad. His brother's coming. Hello, Brayton. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Good. I'm good. So, can you tell us your name, your jersey number, and what year are you?
My name is Brayton Feister. I'm a class 2027, and I go to Archbishop Hoban, and I wear 18, number 18.
Number 18. How'd you come up with the number 18 for your jersey number? What made you pick that?
So when I was young, my favorite football player was Peyton Manning. So I just kind of stuck with 18. Then my birthday is September 18th. So it kind of like suited me. So I've always worn 18 since Pee Wee.
Very good. What's your go-to song for game day? What I know there's usually probably a team song, but what do you have? What are you listening to on game day to get you locked in and focused on game day?
I'm gonna say there's a lot, but if I had to really pick one that really got me in the zone, I would say Meek Mill's "Dreams and Nightmares."
Meek Mill's "Dreams and Nightmares." Who's your favorite football player?
My favorite football player of all time, I would say at the linebacker position, Ray Lewis, 100%. The way he played the game was physical and dominant. I mean, it was one of the best for a reason. And then Saquon Barkley for running back. I mean, the dude's just an animal. His talent speaks for itself.
Let's talk a little bit about school. Do you have a favorite class at Open?
Yeah, I'd say probably my history class. I like learning a lot of history stuff.
Do you have a pregame meal that you go to?
Yeah, steak and potatoes.
Steak and potatoes. Can't go wrong with steak and potatoes.
No sir.
What other sports do you play? Or have you played in the past?
Wrestling. I wrestle.
He's a wrestler. Not only does he wrestle, he's a great wrestler. So I just want to put that out there.
Yes sir.
How do you balance schoolwork and football and wrestling and all the things you have going on? What's your schedule like?
Well, when you have dreams, you know you're going to do anything you can to accomplish them. So you find time in your day, whether it's study hall or whether it's at home, or you got to spend a couple extra hours a night. You know, do what you got to do, make sacrifices. You know, to make sure you get the good grades to be able to do what you got to do.
Tell us your top five schools. Tell us something about some of your offers on the table right now.
Some offers on the table. More of the bigger ones would be Oregon, Penn State, USC, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Michigan.
I'm going to ask you. I kind of did a little bit of research on you. I've seen your run style. I've seen you play live, Brayton, and you're not only you're a very good player. You're physical. You're built. Both of my brothers played UCLA. They both went to play in the league, and so you definitely not only passed the eye test. I know you're a disciplined kid. I got a chance to talk to your father, so I'm very excited about watching you and your brother develop and grow. And can you tell me, give you the floor right now? If you can tell something to your teammates right now, what would you tell them?
All right, so some of my teammates right now, I mean, I'm just gonna tell them, I love them. There's a reason why we go out and fight every Friday with each other. We pour our blood, sweat, and tears into this, for a state championship. I love them. I'm gonna do what I can, put my body on the line for them, and we make sure we come home with the gold this year.
And anything else you want to tell the people about yourself, about your team?
We're coming. That's it. That's all it is. We're coming with everything we got. So.
Well, again, I want to tell everyone this is Brayton Feister, one of the best kids in the country, running back, linebacker, the running back spotlight of the week, Archbishop Hoban. Big game against Walsh. We're going to be there. I want to say hello to your coaching staff, Coach Terrell, Coach Clipper is my guy. Want to say hello to your dad and your brother. Oh, and your sister and your mom. We're not going to forget them. They
Yes,
are the
sir.
most important people in the house. Please let them know. We're
Yes,
giving them
sir.
a shout out on the show. And it takes a family to create a great ball player. Everyone has to be on board. So I want to say hello to the entire family, even the dog, and then I hear barking. So
Yes, sir.
thank you, Brayton. You have a great week. Have a great game. And welcome to the running back spotlight of the week.
Absolutely. Thank you.
If you had anything you can ask Coach Stump Mitchell about the running back position, which I know you're versatile. You're looking at the linebacker. What would you
Mhm.
ask him about the position if you could talk to him? If you could talk to an NFL veteran coach?
What's the easiest way to to bait a linebacker to the hole? Like what's like what body movements and motions is like would he prefer like use to like get a linebacker to bite on a hole and then get to the next, cut back to the one or jump cut to another.
It's a pretty
Oh,
talented young man.
yeah, he has some difficult technical stuff going on there, Coach. Brayton Feister at Akron Hoban. He asked Coach coming through the hole as a running back how to bait that linebacker so you can progress past him. You got an answer for Brayton?
Well, from what I saw, he did a good job of closing the space between himself and the defender. And then again, he's got a great stiff arm, and he has an excellent has the ability to jump cut to make defenders miss as well. So I can see why all those schools are recruiting him because he definitely has skills. He might want to get his pass down a little more, but he's going to be a great back.
Saphyr and our guy Russ on the production. Um, we want to give a shout out. Coach Stump got the opportunity to throw the first pitch while he was here in Cleveland. The Guardians went on a historic run here towards the end of the year, Coach. They did lose game one, but we got our Cleveland Guardians in the playoffs, so we're rooting for them. Sapphire, you catch any baseball?
Yeah, yeah. With baseball, unlike football, I have to wait for the outcome of the game before I watch the game. I don't know why it affects me so differently. So yeah, I did know that, we made it in the postseason. We lost today's game, but you know, that Ramirez, he is the heartbeat. So I just want the best for the team.
Very good. Well, we want to welcome everyone for joining us. We got to clean up our technical issues we have going on. We'll figure that out. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Sapphire, Coach Stump, and Russ. Everyone have a good night. Sapphire, you want to end the show?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody, including the T County Browns backers. Thank you so much for your support, and y'all just have faith in our Browns. We're ride or die. We can complain and we can assess, but we're true fans. And just buckle those seatbelts up. We have a whole rest of the season to see what the men are gonna do.
Well, let's go. Go Browns.